Welcome to CSS tutorial number 4 on CSS border. In this tutorial we'll take a look at three border properties that you can use to style your elements using CSS border width, CSS border color, as well as CSS border individual sites. So we're going to go through three different slides as well as a coding session as usual. So see you then. So CSS borders. The first slide we're going to go through border width. The border width is most often specified by px or pixel, or the values thin, or the name of the values thin, medium, or thick. For example, p.1 border width 5 pixel, so the border would be 5 pixel thick. And p.2 would be, the border would be thin. p.3 would be medium, the thickness of the border would be medium. And lastly, p4, the border would be thick. By the way, you might be wondering what are these p1, p2, p3, p4. Those are the names of the border sides or values. So 1 would be the top border, 2 would be the right border, 3 would be the bottom border, and 4 would be the left border. So those are the values given to the border element. So that's that. And moving on to next slide. Next slide is covering the border color. You can also apply color to your borders using name of the color, hexadecimal value, RGB value, HSL value, as well as transparent value. So we're going to go through. For the first one, we're going to name it blue, simply by writing the name blue. And the P2 would have the hexadecimal value of hashtag F56342, whatever that is. We will see that in the coding session. And P3, or the bottom side of the border, will have the RGB value color. And lastly, the left border, or P4, would have the HSL value. So that's how we do our border coloring. And last property would be the last part of doing property would be to do border sides individually. You can actually have different border styles for your different individual side of your border. For example, the top would have a different color and the bottom would have a totally different color. You have that option as well, such as this. So this is the way we would code. You would have your selector, and then you would do your open bracket, and then declare your different sides of your border. As you can see, the first one of the specification is border top style. Your top border would have the style of dotted, and right one would have the solid style, the bottom would have the dotted, and the left would have the solid. And we can also see that in our coding session. So this is our regular boilerplate, and I've already done my styling to save the time, and I've commented them out. So we're gonna go ahead and uncomment all of these, and we have our style for the border width. As you can see, the first one has border width of 5 pixel, as we mentioned. The P2 has thin, and the P3 has medium value, and the P4 has the value thick. So you can tell that all of these different sides will have different border width. And one thing I want to mention that when you are coding, when you are specifying the border width, you have to also specify the border style in parallel, because otherwise it wouldn't work. So this is a compulsory step that you need to take in order to achieve the border width. And we also have our HTML elements here, and as you can see, they all have IDs of 1, 2, 3, and 4, which stand for different sides of the border. So we're gonna run this on Google Chrome, and we're gonna see this in action. There you go. So you can see we have 4 paragraphs, or 4 different paragraphs with 4 different borders. So if you go back to the code, we can see that these 3 different paragraphs have 3 different thickness. So first one has 5 pixel thickness, second one is quite thin, third one is medium, and fourth one is thick. So going back to the code, let's comment this style out and uncomment the second style, which is the color property. So as you can see, our P1 has color red. We're using the name value, and for P2 we're using the hexadecimal values. For P3 we're using RGB, and for P4 we're using the HSL. So we're gonna go ahead and run this and see the effect. And there you go. So we have different colors for different paragraphs. So that's that for color values, and it's quite simple. And instead of width, you would replace it with color. So you would have border color and then the color values. Again, you also have to have the border style, otherwise it wouldn't work. So let's comment this out. And moving on to the last style, which is the individual borders specified. We're gonna uncomment this and see this in action. I'm actually going to comment out all of these paragraphs because we're not going to be using those, and instead we're going to be using the H2 element to style the different sides of the property. So let's save this and run this on Chrome. So as you can see, our CSS border has 4 different styles of border. So on the left we have dotted style, on top we have, on the left we have dashed style, on top side of the border we have dotted style, on the right side we have a solid style, and at the bottom side we have double style, which is two lines in parallel. So that concludes our tutorial for CSS border. Hopefully you learned something, and I will see you in tutorial number 5. Have a great day.